And it works. Great. So we're going on a journey together on how can we put some compassion into capitalism. Before that, I want to make a confession here. Capitalism harnesses the best ever economic model of growth which has created industrialization, AI revolution, green revolution, and whatnot. And that led to the exponential progress of future of 2050. That's great, right? But in the process of growth, this is what's happening. This, and this really did touch my heart. So in the process of growth, we missed out the ecological and environmental benefits or value, what it gives to us. Now that's first context. Now the next context is that what's driving this economy? Venture capital industry played a major role in helping great companies become greater and solve some of the biggest problems. Again, the problem with the VC ecosystem is that we get incentivized for growth at all cost, but never for environmental benefits or concerns. It starts with this shareholder capitalism, where I give you money and you give me a piece of company and we'll make sure you become successful. And eventually the definition of success changes from impact to let's make more money. That's going to be self-centric and egocentric, and that's the consequences of the industrial revolution which we're facing right now. Next, these are some of the stats and reports saying that VCs do support companies, but do they really? There are negative impacts, and some of the VCs don't really add value to the startups as well. Said by the greatest VC of all time, Vinod Khosla, or me. Now, there are not only negative sides. VC-funded startups have made great companies like Google, SpaceX, Apple, and whatnot, which is solving our problems. So it does solve a problem. Hence, talking about problems, the entire ecosystem and the capitalism enable to make new asset classes based on problem. Now there are two problems here. Startups solve problems, so startup could be an asset class, that's venture as an asset class, and then we have climate change, carbon as an asset class. Now when these two asset classes come together, that gives rise to what Sandeep just mentioned, venture builders. These were the venture builders which came out in the connection between carbon as an asset class and venture as an asset class. But then, 90% of the startups fail. Why do they fail? There are multiple reasons, but the core reason is it starts with this. We support you, you give me a piece of the company, and eventually we'll help you grow the company and build impact, but eventually the definition of impact becomes this again. It's got to be capitalist, and we forget the core reason of why we start. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and the world is considered to be a zero-sum game. That's if I win, you have to lose. But that's the definition we all been growing up, and that's been the definition of capitalism as well. But I think we could change the definition of capitalism. Not change, we can add some compassion into capitalism. Before that, I was part of some of the venture builder. I did start a couple of companies when we did raise some money, and I personally was a victim of saying impact is about empowering people, empowering societies. At the end of the day, it came about empowering our shareholders and making more money. So, standards are rising like ESGs, SDGs, etc. to support the ecosystem. But are they really supporting the ecosystem? Do you think so? I don't know. But if you go back to the first principles, if you see nature as a system, how the nature works, how it's symbiotic, how we can support each other, bringing compassion to each other and grow the system, we can actually make some difference here. Now, I'm not coming up with this. We learned this since, third grade, that how the nature works. Everybody's interdependent. Nobody is forcing anything on each other. Now, the same philosophies are adopted in capitalistic ecosystem as well, which we might not be aware of. Starting with one of the biggest consulting firms. First round of interview is a food chain based gaming system where they want to just make sure every candidate who gets into the management consulting or strategy consulting ecosystem, they understand the fundamentals, how the nature works. Everything is symbiotic. That's the case one. Case two, we have an ESOF system. Every employee owns a piece of a company, and only if the employee performs well, company performs well, and everybody's winning if everybody's performing well. And third, this is really new system in the VC ecosystem called Equitable Capital. So let's say a VC invests into 15 startups of the portfolio, and the system works in such a way that the fund shares the profit with every company in the portfolio. We don't know the success rate of it yet, it's too early, but this is revolutionary. But this gives a mindset of zero sum to positive sum, where it's no matter what, we all are winning only when we all win together. But there's still a small misalignment problem here. That's, can we actually support each co-founders? What's the incentive if you win for me, and what's the incentive for me if you don't lose? So the whole system thinking of regenerative thinking and regenerative design is a new evolution post-sustainability, and companies are in very early stage to adopt it. Now here's an idea. This is going to be a very skeptic point of view. Might get a lot of criticism of how an ideal venture builder should be. But let's say there is a venture builder who has an idea to solve climate change by removing the excess carbon from atmosphere and keeping planet sane. That's keeping it under control. Now how does this venture builder should work? Let's say the VC or the venture builder picks founders who are specialized in different portion of the supply chain of solving a problem. Just to give an example here, climate change. So step one for solving climate change is to everybody should know what's their carbon footprint. So let's say VC invests into a company or builds a company through the venture studio who solves measurement problems, carbon footprinting problem. Then the next stage is strategy problem. Like, okay, I know my footprint, what's the next step? Then comes, okay, how do I reduce my carbon? How do I remove my carbon? Am I doing it right? Auditing, and now then the new problem is methane. Like, carbon might get solved, the next problem might be methane. So it goes on and on. But the model of this venture builder should be in such a way that every company or every venture in this portfolio owns percentage of each other. It's not one way where a startup shares its equity with the fund. On the other way, it shares this equity with other portfolio companies in such a way that if venture one owns a portion of venture two, only when venture two is successful, that's when venture one will be successful as well. And this completely brings in a concept of inclusivity where I want to make sure you are successful so that I'm going to be successful, or we all are successful only when we all win. Now we think, okay, this sounds idealistic, but how does the governance system work? There are so many stakeholders and governance is a pain in the problem. Yeah. So solution for this is to enable technology. So we have decentralized system for a while, which enabled blockchain, and recently giving rise to the regenerative finance, ReFi. Now through these technologies which enable decentralization and governance, we can build a good governing structure which could help companies to grow, measure, and incentivize each other. So the ReFi enables the whole ecosystem. So it's possible. We have an infrastructure, we just have to execute it. Now it comes that we have to think beyond sustainability. Now sustainability is all about, let's say, let's keep the planet sane, let's keep it fine, and let's protect it. But we've got to think beyond, outside the box of regeneration. More than sustainability, we have to think what can we do to reduce the harm and also build a better future. And that's what the regenerative ecosystem is coming into place. And, so with the regenerative ecosystem, the future is going to be about supporting each other, incentivizing each other, and the mindset comes from the nature that if I win, we all win, and if you win, also we all win. It's not a zero-sum game, it's a positive-sum game. Less extractive, less egocentric, and we think a larger cause service for everybody rather than myself, and that's how the world should be. So this is how, if we follow a regenerative mindset and a regenerative ecosystem, animals, plants, human beings, everybody's going to be happy, and we're going to live in an idealistic world where we're going to build better future for our generations next and our children. Thank you very much.